job of this caucus coordinating with PPACG, and we'll get that figured out.
And Mark Snyder mentioned the letter that was sent out from the Mayor's Caucus, and when Wayne Williams saw that, he was a little concerned about some of the wording in there. So maybe if you have Wayne's cell phone, you could call him and ask him about the wording in the letter, because apparently he was worried about some of the things that you agreed to in that previous letter that kind of left us at a disadvantage. So him being on the STAC committee, he's got a lot more history. So if there's something in there that he thinks would be more to our advantage or disadvantage, if you don't need to send it out in the next 10 minutes, if you could get his input on it, I think he'd appreciate it.
Well, we'll do that, Brandy. And again, I'm meeting with Wayne and with Sally Clark and with Amy Lathan here, I think, by the first of the week. And from now on, we're going to copy all of the PPACG board and Wayne Williams on everything we said. And even before we send things, pardon me?
There's just
What do I know? Well, I would have thought that Rob McDonald, the director of PPACG, would be reporting back not only to your board, but also Wayne Williams. So that was just a misunderstanding. So anyway, we're not intending to make commitments on behalf of PPACG, but honestly, we're not, as a group of mayors and 2 county commission chairs, we want to be supportive and helpful, but we're not going to accept, frankly, CDOT's current position that, well, percentages don't matter. If that's out of date, well, that's not what the MOU says. And in terms of an extension of the MOU, I hope we can jointly make sure that, however that ends up, that we're all comfortable with it. So we avoid the kind of confusion we've had so far. So we're going to do a lot better job of collaborating and communicating. And you may get more than you want. And welcome to have you, Scott, or somebody from council sit in on these meetings if you want. We were hoping to deal with CDOT and move on to something else. Yes.
A really simple question. I don't get. We have $22 million at stake. I don't get the disconnect. I mean, how does that happen? And why wouldn't those folks? Because it's all us. It's us here in this locale. Why aren't they advocating for us? What's the answer? I mean, is there anybody even asking the question?
I don't want to give the wrong impression here. Ever since I've been on council and been on PPACG, there's been tremendous support, desire, pleadings, beggings, whatever word you want to use, to try to do exactly what Tim says, to try to increase that percentage. Fighting a strong lobby with the Denver lobby. And matter of fact, with the comments you just made, with a couple of exceptions, I'm not sure anybody on the PPACG board would disagree with anything you just said. Maybe a couple exceptions is just clarify, everybody should know that there's also Teller and Park County representation on the PPACG. And so when we keep talking about, I'll say El Paso County. When I say El Paso County, of course they stick their hand up and go, well, what about us? And that's kind of a valid point. And so I'm not sure we disagree with you, but we're fighting a powerful lobby. The powerful lobby is Denver.
Well, that's for sure. The State Transportation Commission has 11 commissioners.
Okay, so
we have 1.
I'm pretty naive.
Denver has 5.
Why don't we try to get some people on that commission? Or how do we need to fight this thing, and what we have been doing isn't working. We need to change our strategy.
That's a legislative matter. Meaning that that's got to be a change of law, either initiated by the legislature or by a citizen referendum. So I already have on the calendar for 4th quarter to talk with you all and Tim Burke or whoever's going to be handling legislative affairs for council about marshaling the interest of our legislative delegation to try to get more representation on the Transportation Commission. We have 1 commissioner, Les Gruen, and Denver Metro has 5. And good for Denver Metro. The first meeting we had with CDOT, as a mayor's caucus, we were told there's no way we can get I-25 north to Monument widened anytime soon. Now, I think the collective efforts of Wayne Williams and we, by continuing to ask questions of me, made a lot of progress there, and thanks to CDOT for moving forward with that widening. So I understand this is a PPACG matter, and that needs to be respected. And we never intended to get crosswise or try to subvert or grab power. We thought we were being helpful, and I thought, because we had Rob McDonald in the meeting, and we have all these mayors who are on the PPACG board, that they were reporting back and getting feedback and advice from PPACG. Well, we need to change that by both inviting representatives of PPACG to be in meetings we have with CDOT, right? Not the whole board, obviously, but whoever wants to come. more collaborative way, and Steve Caucus and I have talked, and I think we want to have, from the executive branch side, I think we're going to want to have a couple of our folks, perhaps Steve and Laura Newman and or Helen Mickelbrink, attend future PPACG meetings. So there's more collaboration. So anyway, I think the good news is we have had some dialogue with Les and with Don Hunt. And the next step from our point of view, this letter we're going to send, which is simply going to say, hear from our combined staffs, and I believe the PPACG staff has weighed in on and signed off on these projects that we're listing. If not, we need to make sure they do.
I can't confirm that.
This is from Helen and Andre, but we need to make sure.
I'm sorry, you said you can or cannot?
I cannot.
Oh, okay.
We need to make sure that the next step we agreed to with Les and Don Hunt was to have a meeting in Don's office in September to talk about a funding plan for I-25 in Cimarron. And obviously we're going to invite whoever wants to come from PPACG to that. They want to move from our fair share of percentages to basically priorities-based budgeting, where they decide which projects are most important as opposed to who's entitled to how much revenue. I guess that's a debate to have.
So some of the stuff seems kind of, I don't want to say elementary or easy to think about, but there's some logic to all this. I'm not sure I understand all the logic because I haven't been in any of the meetings. But here's what I think I heard you say. Help me out here. There's $22 million at stake. Is that a correct statement?
More than that, actually.
Okay, well, let's just say,
take 20.
let's say that's as the baseline.
Per year.
And then what you're saying is that we're not savvy enough negotiators to go get our money, or there's limitations because of legislation or whatever the limitations are. If there are problems that are definable, what I would like to know, who can take the lead, whether it's PPACG or if it's your office or whoever it is, can't we come up with some kind of an agenda? Because $22 million would go a long ways in our locale. And that we have that kind of money sitting up there and we're not getting it is my mind, here's Tim Lee's statement, outrageous, and it is. We need to have a plan, and we need to execute on the plan. How do we do that?
Angela?
Well, and it's even further than that. There's been, and I'm looking for Kathleen because I know she can give you the exact voting, but the state has voted on certain road projects, and they've completed all of Denver's and got to Colorado Springs, which one was Powers Boulevard we're working with, and said, well, we're out of money, sorry. You know, so it's not even that. We've got to have a voice even in the stronger parts of it, too. Is it the actual state legislators who help appoint to this committee board?
The legislature could change state law as to the constituency of the commission, and then the governor would have to approve it. So, and this was something that was determined many, many decades ago when Denver was far greater as a percentage of the population. I think this is an example where more of us in front of the state authorities is what's important, but I also agree that we need to do it in concert with each other.
Yeah, let's have a plan.
Yeah, and here's another way I look at this. If we weren't spending all this money through PPRTA and city funds, okay, on what really should be state highway projects, where could we use that money?
Exactly.
I mean, that's another way.
Exactly.
You know, I don't want to get cheap about that because it is the real world where we're going to have to do more locally. Solutions are going to have to come from within. But to my knowledge, we're the only region that's really contributing in such a major way to state highway projects locally. So I think the bottom line is we'll get all this worked out in terms of making sure that we're in close sync and respectful of PPACG's position, but also, to be honest with you, definitive as a group of mayors. We got a better energy somewhere. We might as well do it up in Denver. And I think it's important that we have more of a presence in front of the governor, and in this case, CDOT.
Absolutely.
So next step is we'll get this letter out, making sure that the PPACG agrees with the projects. It's stunning the amount of money that we've spent locally here on that. And we'll copy you all and the PPACG board. And I'll meet with Sally and Wayne and Amy. We'll get that figured out. It's pretty simple. Just make sure we invite one of you, if you can make it, if you feel like it. We have minutes, and I'm not sure, Brenda, have we been distributing the minutes of the mayor's caucus to council?
No, sir.
Happy to do that if you want to see it. So we'll get it figured out.
And vice versa, I'm not sure. I don't know if you're on the. And vice versa, I don't know if you're on the distribution list from PPACG minutes, but we can certainly make that happen too.
All right. Well.
And probably PPRTA too. PPRTA too. Thank you. Also, PPRTA also, thank you.
You know what, it's okay, dude, I'm just gonna make it